I do not know when I'll be able to get to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, whether it be at Disneyland or Disney World. I do not know when, or even if I'll be able to go. I just don't know. But I do know I am able to experience it through books. That's why today I'm reviewing Star Wars Black Spire by Delilah S. Dawson. Black Spire is one of those books that's part of the Galaxy's Edge marketing that we've been seeing among Star Wars, not necessarily merchandise, but media. So, we got Black Spire, we got Crush of Fate, there's the Galaxy's Edge comic. All of these are kind of, tying in with the theme park, kind of like how we always have the tie-ins to the movies as well. The theme park is being treated as an equally big event, with tie-in novels and all of that. Black Spire Outpost is what I'm reviewing today, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Much more than I enjoyed the Crash of Fate, which you will not see my review of because I didn't even get the page into it. So, how do I know I don't enjoy it? Well, that's because I only got a page into it, while in this book I was able to read the entire book, and I enjoyed it so much more. Because that's a big thing for me. If I can't get past the first page, or even the first 2-3 pages, yeah, I'm probably not going to read that book anytime soon. Every now and then there's a book like, I can't read it, but I really want you to find out what happens, I'll go find the audiobook. But for Crash of Fate, I wasn't being drawn in. I was not being drawn in. Who knows about for you, but for me, I was drawn into this book right away, and I was able to get it read in a day or two, maybe about 3-4 days. But once I started reading it, I got through it nice and quickly. Not the quickest I've ever read a book, but definitely quickly. Probably would have been quicker if I did not have to stop for classes and work. But anyhow, as I've been saying, I enjoyed this book. I found it an excellent read. It follows the character Vi Muradai, who is one of the main characters from the book Phasma. Captain Cardinal also reappears in this book, so he's going now by his birth name of Archax, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. All my Star Wars names take my pronunciation with a grain of salt, because I don't always pronounce them correctly. But regardless of my pronunciation of the characters' names, so the story follows Vi and Archax as they are setting up a resistance outpost, a resistance waypoint, a base, whatever term you want to use, on the planet Batu New Black Spire Outpost, because they want a outpost that's out of the way of the First Order, a location that they feel like the First Order is unlikely to discover them in because there's no strategic value at that planet. And Batu is one of those because there's not a huge agricultural economy, so they won't be able to get anything out of that. There's no huge industry, mining, manufacturing, so it's not important there. Not very populous, so not that many people to recruit. And of course, it's just a backwater world with no strategic value, except for maybe the random artifact that might show up on the planet. And we do see some pretty interesting artifacts that might be connected to the Force. Okay, they are connected with the Force. Pop up more than once in this book. But that's not the main point of the book. The main point of the book, I think, really is learning about the people of Batu and the state of the resistance between The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker. The resistance, about 2-3 months or so after The Last Jedi, is they're still struggling. They have rebuilt a little bit, they have a bigger fleet now. We do get that because Vi mentions the Resistance fleet. And it sounds like it's more than just the Millennium Falcon. Maybe, well, we know they're going to have more from the Rise of Skywalker trailers. Let's assume at least once the R90 Corvette at this point. What this is telling us is that the Resistance still has, in their current state, no chance of defeating the First Order. They have to build, and that's what's being done in this book. Vi is building resistance. Yeah, she's literally building resistance to the First Order, because let's remember, the Resistance is not rebelling against the First Order, they're resisting the First Order. Small technicality, but they're not rebelling against the existing government, they're preventing somebody else from taking control of the government. So I think an apt comparison for the state of resistance that we're able to glean from this book is to that of the Polish resistance or the French resistance of World War II, because like the Poles and the French, they were resisting an authoritarian government coming in and taking over, well, the land / the galaxy, or the galaxy. They were resisting that. They were resisting authoritarianism and totalitarianism and just plain old tyranny. That's what they were resisting against. Resisting bullies, as this book often talks about. They were not rebelling because they were not rebelling against an established government. That's a rebellion. You're fighting your own government in a rebellion. In resistance, you're probably fighting another government. Maybe you're fighting a coup or rebellion. I think that would be considered resistance as well. But the point is that they're struggling. They don't have much resources. And their allies are far off, distant, maybe barely in contact with. The Polish and French resistance of World War II did have the benefit of the allies to draw support from. So there is that, but we don't see any big support like that. That's the only main difference here. The resistance in Star Wars doesn't have a powerful backer anymore. They used to have the New Republic giving them secret backing, but the New Republic is gone. And actually, in the book, they do talk about how the destruction of the New Republic is a huge motivator for lots of people who already risk resistance, gives them a further resolve. But also for some people, like when they're approached by the resistance, and they remember back to Hosnian Prime and being destroyed, whether it be because they themselves lost somebody in it, and we do have 2 characters that lost friends or family during the destruction of Hosnian Prime. We do have 2 characters, Vi and a new character that who we are introduced to, who's a Wiz Attack. We are introduced to that, and that's their motivating factor. And others, it's like, when they hear about it, they're like, yeah, we gotta resist that. And some people, what it takes for them to start resisting is to actually see the need to resist. So many of the Batu residents, they don't start, large supports of the resistance, if you will. Not necessarily that, but they don't start actively supporting the resistance until they actually see what the First Order is capable of. That's when many of them start to join up. In the book, there's a resistance recruit from Batu named Dawson. He comes from an agriculture community that has shunned many forms of technology, except for apparently motorcycles. Yes, I mean motorcycles. Maybe a car type vehicle, but wheeled vehicles and radios. That's like the only modernish technology that community has. He joins the resistance because he essentially wants a sense of adventure. Think of Luke in A New Hope, but minus the Force powers. Though the Force is already discussed in this book, but kind of more in the Force is everywhere, and that kind of way more of the more like Chirrut from Rogue One. That's what I was looking for. That or Lawson Tekka. Belief in the Force, but not necessarily Force sensitive, except for talking about Rey, which really is discussed a little bit in this book, but nothing too important. But getting back on track to the character Dawson. At one point he goes back to his community to appeal to them to help and join the resistance. Yeah, they don't. Until a First Order patrol goes into the community looking for the resistance base, and basically for no reason kills one of the members of the community who happens to be Dawson's cousin. That motivates all the young people of the community to support the resistance. The older generation, the older folk in the community, not so much. They're very stuck in tradition. Young versus old. We do sometimes see that. Oftentimes the young oftentimes tend to be more wanting to take action, while the older people rather, let's keep the things the way they are. Now let's transition over to Black Spire Outpost. And the residents there are kind of the same. Vi does make pleas to them to join the resistance, but none of them really do want to join. Some of them are actually supportive of the First Order, believe it or not. And the First Order does appear on the planet looking for Vi. And that's, I'm not going to get too much into that because that's, I think, the heart of the story. Not necessarily the heart of the story, but big spoilers for the story. So, but many residents also, if they don't, even if they don't join with the resistance, they are sympathetic to the resistance. Savvy is a scavenger on the plane. He runs a scavenging business, and he is fully sympathetic to the resistance. But at the same time, he doesn't want to take any action for two reasons. The bigger one, which I think is the more important one, is that he feels like that it's not his place yet to get involved. He'll support them, maybe and give them good deals on salvage and other stuff, but he doesn't feel like it's his job yet, his role in the conflict yet, to get involved. He feels like it comes down to the Force. He thinks the Force is guiding him to not get involved more beyond being supportive of them, not actively getting involved. And the second reason is he doesn't want to get on the bad side of the local crime boss, which I think does make some good sense. Because the Resistance also is trying to get on the good side of the crime boss by letting her run Black Spire outposts as she sees fit, while the First Order kind of wants to intimidate her into doing what they want. And she does not like that. So, but at the same time, like, if they give her enough deference, she probably will cooperate with them. And she pretty much downright says that at the end of the book. We learn a lot about the people of the galaxy in this book. Through Batu, of course, but we learn a lot, and we learn why the Resistance didn't get any allies at the end of The Last Jedi, is that many people feel like it's not their fight. If they just stay out of the way and don't get involved, they'll be fine. Their lives will go on as normal, and the First Order will just ignore them. And the Resistance will ignore them. But the Resistance knows that that's not the case. And in this book, we see the residents of Batu discover that just because they're keeping their heads down and not doing much, doesn't mean that the First Order will let them be. And I think that's why we're going to see the Resistance ultimately win in The Rise of Skywalker. And not just because that makes the most sense story-wise. Maybe not a definitive win, but definitely they deal a severe blow to the First Order, like a striking victory that puts the First Order on the defensive. And I think it's going to be because the people of the galaxy, like the people of Batu, will eventually come to realize that the First Order should be stopped and needs to be stopped, that they can't be passive anymore about it. That's what I'm gleaming in from here about the direction of the sequel trilogy. I guarantee you I'm probably going to be wrong about something, but I'm making a broad prediction, so I should be fine. Black Spire also addresses mental health. Specifically, they're talking about PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. While they don't come out directly and say it, they talk a little bit about how traumatic experiences have lasting impacts. Their advice on it is not the best, but the Resistance does have a good excuse in the book. They don't have somebody who's qualified to deal with mental health issues. And the best she can do is, like, offer an ear and just tell the person you gotta learn to live with it, and like specifically in Vi's situation, she's able to tell Vi that, hey, maybe you need to talk about it with Cardinal/HX himself. That might help you. Some decent enough advice from someone who's not a trained mental health doctor, who's just a physician/surgeon, that kind of doctor. So maybe my only complaint about this book is that mental health is not addressed in the best manner, but it's not addressed in the worst manner either. So, I'm going to not talk too much more about the mental health aspect, but both Vi and Cardinal do, at the end of the story, their mental health is better than it was in the beginning of the story. For Cardinal, he definitely has found his purpose again, while with Vi, she's come to some terms of her mental health issues, so she's definitely got a lot more work to go, which I think would be good to explore at least a little bit in another story. Now, if you do have mental health issues, or you think you do, seek out professional help. I do know many schools do offer counseling services to their student body. I'm going to leave it with that because I'm not a mental health professional, nor have I had mental health issues myself. But I do know this much. Seek out professional help if you need it. And even if you think you need it, seek it out. Because when it comes to mental health, just like regular health, it's probably better to be safe than sorry. But this book, and it's a great book at that. I really did enjoy it, as I said way early on in the beginning of this video. Probably closer for you than for me, because that mental health bit I was talking about, yeah, it took me like 3 or 4 times to actually get it out. So, if you want to see my other attempts at it, consider checking me out on Patreon and $1 a month will give you access to all my cut content. So before I end this book, I would like to before I end this review of this book of Black Spire by Delilah S. Dawson, if you want to, please let me know, what did you think of this story? What did you think of it? What did you think of my review of the book? And that's actually pretty much it I would like to say about what I would like to hear from you about. What did you think? So with that, I would like to thank you for tuning into today's video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel for future content. I'll have more Star Wars book reviews coming out over time as I read the books. I got my book club as well, featuring Star Wars X-Wing. I am a week behind with it. I know, I do apologize. I will be back more or less on track this Friday. But other than that, thank you for tuning in. Please consider checking out all of the links down in the description. And as always, have a good day, a good night, wherever you are. May the Force be with you, always.